Hello and welcome back to a new video of For Honor. Today we're talking about the Warden, or also known as the Vortex. So, the Warden got a rework in Season 7 now, and I think it's pretty good. I really like what they did with him. It's probably one of the more balanced reworks. He's not as weak anymore. He actually can be viable now in ranked matches. And he doesn't have to rely on his shoulder charge that much anymore because he has a few new tools. And if you do choose to use this vortex, though, you have a few more, well, opportunities or ways to go with it. So I really like what they did with him. I think that he is a little bit better in duels and way better in 4v4s now. Because of his unblockables, he's just very good. Very good in 4v4s. So this is my one. So you can see it, I really like the crown. I know everyone, their mother is using this crown with the Warden, but I really like it and I feel like it has a nice touch. I used this shader, or well, this paint pattern, so to make it look a little bit like dirty, you know, just like a dirty armor. I think it looks pretty neat. I like it. I really do. So those are my stats. I will go over them in a second. That's my blade. I think it's really neat. I know there are a lot of golden swords and golden plates and helmets and stuff for the Warden, but I honestly don't really like the color of gold that much. I really prefer copper and silver. Mostly silver. I think silver is probably like my favorite metal. And yeah, gold is not really my thing. I feel like it looks just decadent and doesn't really fit in like for a true warrior. I mean, okay, granted, the crown isn't really decent either. It's not a very humble thing to put that on, but that's something else. So let's go over this. Yeah, we will start with the helmet. So the Warden is extremely good in anti-gang situations. He's a gangbuster, he's very good in that. He also gets more renown for it. As you can see, earn more renown in outnumbered fights and by controlling objectives and by killing enemy soldiers. So he gets, if you are getting ganked, you get a kill on someone, which is very likely because he's very good in, or with dealing against these things. You will get a lot of renown. You will get your feats very quickly. So that's why I went for this revenge build. So first off, the helmet, I went for defense and exhaustion recovery increasing because debuff resistance normally is not that important in my opinion. That's just a personal preference. There are of course classes like Raider and people that if you're getting ganked really abuse top the top light that stuns you with the Raider, or that really keep on using the punch and the kicks as Centurion, or the punch as the Gladiator. But most people normally don't do that, so in my opinion it's not that important. That's, like I said, a personal preference. You may do it differently, of course. Exhaustion recovery is quite important just because you never want to run out of stamina. You always want to be able to do your vortex and your heavies and everything, obviously. With the chest I went for like mine is like negative defense and revenge stats in a very positive way. I will talk about this in a second. And yeah, the arms are just overall just increasing everything a little bit. The an interesting thing about this build is, as you all hopefully know, if your total defense is positive, defense penetration will stop at 0%. So if I fight against someone that has 10% defense penetration, as you can see I have exactly 0.00%, but 0.00 is still a positive number. So that means it will not do anything. It will basically also mean that no one, or that everyone that has 0 defense penetration does just as much damage as everyone else. But I think that's a very important thing, because I was doing the Kensei video quite a while ago, and I had negative defense, which, looking back at it, was not a very good thing, because defense penetration was just going to go through. So my Kensei had like 2% or -2% total defense. So if I was to fight against someone with like 5% defense penetration, those numbers would add up, and 2 plus 5 is obviously 7, so I would get 7% bonus damage because of that. It's a very bad thing. So with a Warden here with 0.00%, as you can see, it's still a plus, so it's still a positive number, so it doesn't matter at all what your enemy has for defense penetration. Not quite sure how it works with negative defense penetration, but seeing as defense penetration is such an OP stat, no one on this planet will actually go negative on it. No one will actually dump this stat, just because it basically nullifies free stats, the free defense stats of the helmet, the chest, and the arms. So that's pretty good. I think that's very important, and I think it's very important that we have revenge mode, defense, and duration, because that's what you want to do. Defense and duration of the revenge mode are probably the most important things for these things, because normally you will be able to trigger revenge once, and that's it. You're not, most of the time, you're not going to get a second chance, because you're not going to survive that long. Especially not if you have someone, well, if you're fighting against people that know what they're doing, that keep on using unblockable attacks and kicks and punches. So that's why those stats are very important. Which also means that revenge gained could probably be lowered, but seeing as sometimes it's already hard to get to the first revenge if you're up to against a really good team, I thought that it still had some form of importance. So let's go over the blade. Yeah, everything here is overall just normal. Everything is getting increased. I thought the block damage was actually important. Normally I go for defense penetration and attack, and especially because normally if most players will go just normal with everything on the armor, so everything will just increase a little bit, and they will go about 7.5% of total defense. So I normally go to 7.5 to like 7 to 8% total defense penetration, because that's like the sweet spot that most people have, because most people will go increase everything on the armor, just increase everything the same way. What I had to compensate, because attack obviously is important, 11.6%. If you're not getting ganked, I wanted this build to still be viable if you're not getting ganked. Or if you're playing elimination against, at the start of a round, you're always facing one person, you're not going to get revenge. At least you normally don't get revenge, because the fight doesn't last that long. So 11.6% is still pretty good for an attack. For an revenge build. Yeah, so I had to dump defense penetration a little bit down for block damage, because block damage actually is not that bad, seeing as the zone attack of the Warden is a heavy attack, so it will do some damage through the block, and most people will just either block it or get hit. There are very few people who actually parry these kind of things, or who are actually paying enough attention when ganking you to actually parry that attack. So yeah, and seeing as you will, if you pop revenge, you will just spin around and attack and swing with heavy attacks on different targets, so they will not expect it, and they will most likely not parry it, but they may be able to block it, and if you have block damage increased, you will at least do quite good damage through that, especially if you have some kind of buff, which we will talk about later. The hilt, well, this is just execution health regen is very, 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 very important. I will go over the executions in a second, but yeah, attack as well. Revive speed, like I always say, it's just a personal preference. Normally my teammates aren't that competent, but they usually, doesn't mean that they're always shit. And I know that I think there's no way to phrase this that doesn't sound arrogant. I'm sorry. We're not trying to sound arrogant anyway. But yeah, I just don't think revive speed is that important. Because normally you will just not be able to pull things off anyway, even with a high revive speed, except for, you know, the Conqueror maybe, or like classes that have this speed revive feat. But in every other scenario, I don't think it's very useful. And well, it's, of course, it could be useful in some scenarios, but the other stats are just much more important. The guard, yeah, everything's normally, because I could have decreased the attack to like -5% or -4% and increase revenge gain, revenge mode attack. But losing about 8% of attack because of 3.6% are positive, and then going negative to 4 or 5%, which would mean I would lose about 8% of my total attack value just for like 5% or 8, or like, I think it was something like 7 or 8% on both stats, on both revenge gain and revenge mode attack stats. Just didn't really seem that reasonable. It was just a big trade-off that wasn't like most stats are, where you go low on one end. It's just, it wasn't really worth it. And I don't want this build to be completely useless, or not useless, but I want this build, like I said, to be competent against normal enemies and normal fighting encounters. So I don't want to put everything on the revenge part, even though it's a big part and it's the really important part about this build. If you're wondering what shader I'm using, I am using the War-Torn shader. I think it's pretty good. Using the black iron ornament, like I said, obsidian crown. You can get it for the, if you buy the prismatic galaxy mythic outfit. That costs about 15,000 steel, I think. And yeah, that's also where you get these kind of paint patterns to get this armor to look like this. And now we will talk about the executions first, and then about the feats. So I thought that this one is pretty good to get a lot of health, because it takes quite long. This one is really good in gang situations, because it doesn't last that long, but you kill your enemy very quickly and the animation just stops very quickly. So if you're getting ganked, that's what you want to go for. If you have revenge popped, because you want a very short execution if you have revenge popped, because if you have a long execution, that execution cannot be interrupted, and you will just get like 2 or 3 heavies on your head while that animation lasts, and you will be dead. So that's not the point of it. This could be quite good. This is actually really good if you're in a gang situation but did not pop revenge, because you see, that's the moment where you kill someone, where you get your health, and that's how long the animation takes. You get quite a lot of health from it. I think it's about like double the amount that you get from this one. Yeah, there are a few other ones that are short. But yeah, I think that this one can be very good, and that actually those two are probably the ones you want to go for. So taking all the trash in a moment of silence. The feats. Let's go to the interesting part now, shall we? Body count is pretty good in Dominion. I would always use it in Dominion. Just because it can be very good, especially with the heavy attacks that target a lot of enemies and the zone attack of the Warden. It can be very good. And you can actually use it to regain a lot of health with it. You know, you don't have to run to a point if you have this. Conqueror is something I would always use in things like skirmish and elimination. Just because the boosts last longer and it's not by much, but it's by a few seconds, and that can still make a difference, especially if you have like a attack boost that also goes with that also stacks with other boosts like moral booster, which we will talk about in a second. It's really good. I think it's a very good. Sometimes I also use this in Dominion, but normally I don't, because capturing a zone doesn't take that long anyway. So yeah. Come at me is not a very good perk in my opinion. This perk is for like people that have very high opinions of themselves. It's an extremely arrogant perk. It's basically if you're using this, you have to be sure that you are going to be much better than your enemy. You have to be sure that your enemy is going to be bad, or that you are going to overwhelm your enemy easily, because you are taking more damage, and you're not taking a little bit more damage. You're taking actually quite a lot of more damage. It's really only practical if you are way better than your enemy, because they will most likely just kill you. In gang situations, it's absolutely useless. Like it's like the exact opposite of what you want to do. It can be good though for elimination, for example. If you know, if your round starts, like the second round starts, you have your first feat, and you have an enemy that you know you're going to beat. You can use it and fight him. You know, that is one way to do it. I didn't really encounter any other opportunity or any other way to make it viable. Yeah, I think it's not a very good perk, to be quite honest. Well, we have Inspire. Inspire is actually, it's nice, but the problem is it does not stack with Moral Booster, and we will come about that in a second. And it normally isn't. It's okay. I think it's a decent choice if you want to go for that. Fiat Lux is okay, but in comparison to those two, it's just useless in my opinion, because Inspire can be very powerful, and if you're getting ganked, you don't have Moral Booster or any other buff, it can be very, very, very good. But I would always, or most of the time, I would go for Thick Blood. If hit with bleed, gain protection from bleed for 3 seconds. So that means that if you get hit from bleed, that bleeding effect will not go through. So you won't bleed, and 3 seconds after that, you will also not bleed. So if you get hit with bleed, you are immune to it for 3 seconds. And after that, it takes like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, I'm not quite sure, to recharge, and then that effect is going to activate again when you will get attacked with a bleeding attack. I think it's a very good thing, especially seeing as there are feats where you can make constant bleeding damage with every attack, and this perk I was about to say feat counters that very hard, and it's not it's a little gamble, because if there's not a single enemy in your enemy team that has bleeding abilities or has this kind of feat, it's not going to do you anything. So it might be bad. So if you want to be on the safe side, go for Inspire. If you want to be able to negate very, very strong feats, but that may not be used every time, go for it. I think it's pretty good. The third one, yeah, second wind. I would always go for second wind, honestly, because Hook no Mortis. It's okay, it's okay, but I think healing is much more important, especially while getting ganked. Takedown is incredibly stupid, it's not useful at all. Most people will not go, will not be fall for a guard break anyway, especially not if they have seen you activating the perk and if they see beneath your name that you have this perk constant right now activate. They will never go for it. So it's completely useless in my opinion. Yeah. So we have the last one. A catapult, zero banner, and moral booster. Catapult can be nice, but most of the time, if you're getting ganked and you're using it, you will just kill yourself most of the time. And it really takes long to recharge. You will probably only be able to use it once. I mean, you will probably be only able to use these things at all once in a game. A Stalwart Banner can be very good while getting ganked. Especially if you have no classes that can really push you somewhere, because like a Shaman, for example, she will just or a Conqueror, they will just try to push you out of that zone so that they can hit you. But I think it's pretty good, especially if you are in a group fight. You can really assist your team so hard with this. You can really turn the tide, especially if your teams are both breaking or something like that. It's a very good perk. Not perk, feat, I'm sorry. Too much Dead by Daylight. Moral Booster is very good in my opinion. Improve damage for you and your allies for a short duration. That means for all allies. So I think it's like 10 or 15 seconds. I think it's like about 15 seconds. I'm not quite sure. Everyone, you and everyone in your team gets a great buff, like great damage boost. I think it's about 2/3, like 70-75% attack boost, and it's incredible. Like it's another one of those game-changing things, and it's extremely good. So I would really recommend this. Catapult is really good, but it's just a single, like you use it and then it's gone, and that's it. Most of the time you're going to hit 1 or 2 people, maybe kill them even. But with these things, Star Bomber is pretty good, but I would always go for Moral Booster because it's just so strong. It's just so good. It's absolutely ridiculous how often this ability, this feat has saved my ass. And even if your allies are dead, like, it still buffs you. And the good thing is, it's stronger than this one. It gives more attack bonus than this one, Inspire. But it gives a buff to everyone in your team on the whole map. It's not only the one that are right next to you. It's very good. I would not go with Inspire and Moral Booster at all. I would only do one of those. If you go for Inspire, then you should probably go for Stalwart Banner. Because those two, they do not stack. The Moral Booster gives more damage boost than Inspire, so it will just override the boost of the Inspire. You can use both of them at the same time, but it won't do anything for you. So keep that in mind. Yeah, overall, I really think that the Warden is an amazing class. It's not only the fashion-wise, because he's just like the biggest Deus Vult, we will take Jerusalem guy in the game, and he is what memes are made of. But he's also a very good class now. He was never really that bad, but I think he's really decent now. He's not as strong as the Kensei rework, because the Kensei rework is absolutely ridiculously strong. But I think he doesn't have to hide himself, you know. He can actually do something in ranked games. And I'm currently Platinum 1. No, Diamond 1, I'm sorry, with him. Just did my location matches. That's not how to say it. You know, my 15 ranked matches that I need to get rank, and that's what I got. And yeah, we will see. We will see. Maybe I'll become a master. Woohoo. Probably not, because I'm not that good at this game. Well, I hope I could help some of you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know. And if you have any questions whatsoever, it can be about Fallout, it can be about the Warden, whatever, just type a comment, just ask me. I'll usually respond rather quickly. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Probably about the Conqueror. So, goodbye. Take care.